It's all yours.
My name is Luke Johnson.
My name is Fleming Milty.
My name is Will Salvo.
And today we're going to be talking about Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders was an independent senator from Vermont, and now he's running on the Democratic ticket for president of the United States. Now, open for questions.
Why is an independent running on the Democratic ticket?
He runs as an independent because he's never been affiliated completely with the Democratic Party. He's a self-labeled Democratic Socialist, and that caused him to not fit into any other parties when he first ran for mayor of Burlington and offices previous before that. And then he ran as governor or senator for Vermont on the independent ticket. But he knows that it's hard for an independent to get elected as president and want to affiliate himself with a party that attracts voters.
He definitely wouldn't affiliate with the Republican Party. He's on the opposite wing. So he had to pick Democrat.
Does he have a history of affiliating with the Democratic Party then in the political realm?
He's further left than the Democratic Party for sure.
He's collaborated with the Democratic Party, but he doesn't have a history of being a member.
Okay.
How does he respond to the question of him being a communist?
He would say that he's not a communist. He claims that he is a democratic socialist. He believes that the government should have high involvement in society and the economy. But he would say that he also advocates deep democracy and that all votes should matter and that we should expand the availability, accessibility of voting.
Right. He wouldn't say he was a communist because his policies aren't totally communist. Like he's not gonna like totally like even everybody out, but he's gonna like sort of make the inequality among wealth and the society closer together.
What's his plan, Luke? You've been kind of quiet. What's his plan to bring some of this wealth? This wealth distribution is a major issue. It's a major problem in our country. How's he going to even that out?
Well, he wants to raise taxes on the rich and basically give to the poor.
Can you expand, please? Raise taxes, it's kind of vague. Does he want to go to a more progressive income tax? Does he want to go to something stronger, tax? Explain, please.
Probably progressive tax.
That he is in favor of the progressive tax, but specifically he wants a large estate tax on the top 3% richest population. And he also calls for a speculation tax on Wall Street and the financial institutions there that he would take and then redistribute.
What's he want to do to the shelters on those estate taxes? Because I can give my money away before I die, or I can, and the state taxes you can navigate around those. Does he want to eliminate those loopholes,
He wants
or
to eliminate the loopholes? A main focus of his campaign and speeches has been about kind of taking the corporate loopholes, and the corporations are taking these laws and finding loopholes. And one of his main goals is to stop these loopholes so the corporations have to just pay their taxes and there's no way around it.
okay.
So, Will, Luke mentioned some of the redistribution of the wealth. Is that not class warfare? Is that not setting up one side against the other?
I mean, one of his main things that he always says in his speeches, the top 1% owns 90% of the wealth in the country.
Okay.
And really, he's trying to fight that. And that top 1%, unfortunately for them, he's just saying too bad.
Okay.
We're going to redistribute the wealth and whatnot.
How do you feel about that, Will?
I think it sort of like gets rid of the incentive to do well in the country. Like those guys, maybe some of them inherited it, but a lot of them, like Bill Gates, he created Microsoft, whatnot, and it just boomed, and he has a ton of money, and he gives it away to charity and whatnot. So I think it gets rid of the incentive to like really do well. Why not just be lazy and get money?
Okay.
Isn't he, though, trying to create opportunity for another Bill Gates to emerge? I mean, Bill Gates, he worked hard, and but there was nobody before him. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, sure, they collaborated with people, but, now if you work hard, you don't have an opportunity because of the commanding position that this top 1% has. So isn't that a good direction for America?
I mean, this is a personal question.
Yeah, sure, yeah. How would you answer that? How would Bernie answer that?
Bernie,
For not just you, Will, but for the others as well.
Bernie would say like everyone needs opportunity, and he feels like now there's not enough opportunity because we're not giving them a chance. So what he's doing is he's putting more money into people who like have less of a chance, I guess, but he's taking away like from the people who already have succeeded.
Bernie's his ideas are based off the idea that people like Bill Gates and the top percent, they've already made it, they fulfilled the American dream. So he says that we should take their money and then distribute it among those who are still trying to start up, to kind of push the starting line a little closer to the finish, is the philosophy.
Luke, who is we? Blaine mentioned that we should take their money and we should give it. Who is that we? Who's deciding? Who ultimately decides that Bill Gates has too much money and it needs to go to other people? What would Bernie? Who would Bernie prefer to have steering the direction of that money rather than Bill Gates or somebody like him?
Well, he just wants to give to the people, and I mean, if you give to the people or whatever without making them do anything, like, you'll just be harming them by not letting them make their way up to the top on their own. But it's the government that like wants to put the money around them and like expand just to make it more equal.
Okay.
Gentlemen, a big task of these candidates is the job of fundraising, as you can imagine, and you've probably seen, right? It takes a lot of money to be a candidate and to run these kind of campaigns. Talk to us a little bit about Bernie and what fundraising and that kind of financial state has looked like for him.
Bernie is like one of the main things is he's like he wants like a cap for how much you can donate to like a candidate, because like he takes pride in that, like he gets all his money from like small individual donations. So he believes that like big millionaires donating to candidates is sort of like buying votes, sort of. So he wants to put a cap on that.
Bernie takes great pride in the fact that his campaign is very grassroots. He doesn't take donations from large corporations. Most of his support comes from local groups or small businesses or individual people. And he thinks that, for example, the brothers that are donating millions of dollars to people like Donald Trump and Carson Other, you'll notice mostly Republican candidates, he's very against that because he thinks that that's just demonstrating that the 1% have so much power in politics, even if they're not directly involved.
Can we shift gears and go to foreign policy? How would Bernie deal with Russia and Russia's expanding role in the Middle East?
I think Bernie is historically and culturally Jewish. He's not a practicing Jew, but it is his background. And so I believe he'd be very supportive of Israel and that he would continue the tradition of Israel being one of our allies in the Middle East because that's where his history is located. However, I don't personally believe that even though he does advocate having a strong enough military to defend ourselves, he is mostly anti-war, and I don't think that he would be able to stand up against the Putin's aggression that seems to be getting worse and worse and worse.
I believe he would let the situation become too bad before he would act. He always states that war is the last option in any situation. So that's why he supports the Iran nuclear deal, because he believes it's like the way that we could get, it would take the longest for Iran to get a nuclear weapon if we support the deal, and that would delay the war, or not cause a war.
While I would agree with him that war should be our last resort, I think you have to know when it's time to use war as a last resort. You can't keep putting it off and putting it off.
So if maybe he's not as willing to take a stand when he needs to, what would be some of his characteristics or his background that would make him a good presidential candidate?
Is this in terms of foreign policy?
Or just in general, yeah.
In general, he was the mayor of the largest city in Vermont, Burlington, and it was a pretty successful city under his direction. And he was a senator of Vermont. He was one of 2 current independents in the Senate, so he's had political success. And he has a very strong support, especially among the younger demographic of voters, college students particularly, because he does advocate for free tuition at public institutions and other things, and that does give him lots of popularity among the younger demographic, especially in the lower income brackets, who feel like they're just being beaten by tuition, taxes, and all the other things that he attributes to the 1% that is their fault.
Let's talk about that free college tuition. I mean, it's great idea to offer free college tuition. Even out the classes, provide opportunities for some who don't, maybe would not have access to it. What's his plan to make that happen? How is he going to make this dream a reality for many
He
Americans?
would plan to pay for it using the speculation tax on the stock market. That's what his plan is.
Okay.
So,
Can you explain the speculation tax, please?
so, like, I guess when stocks are being traded,
In the stock markets on Wall Street, when stocks are traded, he wants to pass a tax so that there's a tax on these investments, because the 1% are constantly playing the stock market, investing in corporations, investing their money into these, what he calls too big to fail banks and institutions on Wall Street, such as, he talks a lot about Citizens United. And he wants to place a tax, I think it was it 3% or 0.5%?
it's 3%.
A 3% speculation.
No, that's on the state.
I don't remember the exact percentage, but a small speculation tax on these banks and institutions so that the government can profit from this investment, and using that he plans to pay for the tuition, because the amount of money that is being invested is so much that he believes that this tax could fund tuition for all of these college students.
Hey, Luke, if we had free college tuition for everybody, what do you see as the pros and the cons of that?
If we had free tuition for everybody, it would show that it wouldn't really be able to show how people that work hard might do better on their ACT scores or whatever, and you can count on that person. It wouldn't draw a line between like the smart and or the people that don't try so hard. So it would hurt the companies that might want to hire those people.
Isn't it the next logical step? And we already have free public education, high school, middle school. I mean, isn't it the next logical step? Isn't it? This is just progress. I mean, progress has been stifled for generations because you've got to pay for college. Isn't this just moving us in the right direction?
I mean, with high school nowadays doesn't determine our whole life. Like, if we did that with college, there might be one more step to see how far we could go, like how far or how good we could do, like with making it to where we want to be.
Like postgraduate work,
Yeah.
PhD things.
Okay.
Yeah, another step, you mean? Okay, so make those free. I mean, that's progress, right?
I guess you just keep adding on, and that doesn't seem very, very effective to me.
Then
It's
what
just creating an atmosphere of lifelong learners.
Just to echo what Luke is saying, if you do start making the next level free, then what determines the value of that degree? Right now, if you have only a high school degree and you want to get a well-paying job, you need a college degree. So if everybody has a college degree, if you want a good, well-paying job in this modern economy, you're going to need a graduate degree. And if everybody has a doctorate degree, then you're going to need some. Corporations who want to hire people need proof that you're more qualified than someone else for them to hire you. And if everybody has the same degree, then it's impossible to tell who's the right person for the job.
Not everyone's made to be a doctor.
We still have to get the grades. I mean, we're not giving grades. We're just giving access to the grades, access to the information.
Honestly, I think that may be setting people up to fail. Like, they just don't have the assets to really accelerate in that field. Like in high school, if they just sort of made it through, not really accelerate, and then they get into college, and it's super difficult anatomy and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to be able to succeed.
Essentially, it becomes a waste of time, because take someone who could get a job directly out of high school, they're not going to go on to higher education, but then they spend the next 4 or more years of their life in higher education. That's just more time that we have people who aren't working, aren't contributing to the economy. They're just wasting their time for education that they likely won't use.
Do you think everyone would take advantage of it if it were an option to go on for free? Because you're right, there are people who might choose to do more of a working class job, so what good is a 4-year advanced degree going to do them? Like, do you think that will hinder working class jobs if it were free?
No, I think that there are some who would not take advantage and who would say, okay, I'm out of high school, I'll just take a working class job immediately. But I think that it would be enough people take advantage of it improperly that you would see an impact on the economy and on our education system. Because once you have everybody going to college, then a lot of those schools that are built to be smaller private institutions are suddenly having a hard time keeping up with how many students that, if private institutions will suffer because they'll still cost money and less people go. Public institutions won't be able to handle this massive influx of kids coming.
Well, we've talked a lot about the economy, and that's certainly been one of the big topics for this election cycle. The other one that we're hearing a lot is immigration. How does Bernie feel about the current state of immigration? Does he have thoughts and feelings about where immigration should be moving forward?
He's all about like loosening the borders. Like he's like Donald Trump is all about let's build a wall. He's completely opposite of that.
Okay.
So his plan on immigration, so he loosened and he would open the borders really. And then undocumented citizens that are already here, he's going to let them come out and then become citizens pretty easily. That's his plan. And he's totally opposed to building a wall.
So you said open the borders as in there are no more borders, no border patrol, no
We would have
anything, or?
We'd have a border, but he's going to make it a lot easier to come in.
Okay.
How's he feel about the situation in Europe with all the refugees coming in from the Middle East? Is he open to bringing those people to the United States? And how would he deal with that influx of Middle Easterners to the U.S.?
I think he would likely advise caution in it because a lot of these refugees coming in do come from some dangerous place. But I think that he would welcome them with open arms because, as he claims, America is a nation of immigrants. He came from an immigrant family, and therefore he's all about opening the borders, letting anyone come in, as the poem under the Statue of Liberty says, take all the poor and all the oppressed and bring them here, because he would say this is the nation of opportunity.
Lane, can you dig into that a little bit more? You said these people coming from the Middle East, he would advise caution. Why would we need to advise caution if these are just immigrants?
He recognizes that we have enemies in the Middle East, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Iran.
Okay.
And so if we are extremely just open with our borders, then I think he's smart enough to realize that we are opening ourselves up to the chance for ISIS and Al-Qaeda and those terrorists to easily just come into America easily and then destroy us from the inside. So I think he would advise that you need to do some checks and and be cautious as you let people in. But he would still, for the most part, say that we should be open.
So there's a potential of people with ill intentions slipping in, taking advantage of the refugee crisis to infiltrate along with those refugees.
Exactly, which is happening in Europe even now.
Now, Blaine, Will, you had mentioned some open borders and relaxing immigration policy. How do those two things square then?
I think he would just be taking the chance, really honestly, by loosening the borders. It's a risk that he's taking. But I guess he's saying that we can't label people as terrorists just because they're from the Middle East.
Okay. How do you think, we are a nation of immigrants, and we are a nation of laws too. How do you think he would work with Congress, or do you think he would support the laws as they're currently written, or how would he work with Congress to, change the immigration laws as they're written?
I'm sure he's definitely a supporter of laws, he's not a rebel or anything. So I'm sure he would try to pass a bill that would define how you come into the country, and it would be easier. And he would also probably pass a bill of people that are already here can go through a process to get their citizenship.
I think that he would work with Congress in the way that currently President Obama does. Right now, Congress is mostly Republican controlled, so it is difficult for him to work because there are two opposing ideologies. And I think that Sanders, if the Congress wasn't willing to work with